I have been chronically online for many years. When I was just 4 years old, my mom put me on a computer with a stack of education video games. I taught myself math, I taught myself how to read. At a very young age, because I didn't go to preschool, my mom stayed at home and took care of me. And I haven't quite decided if being introduced to computers early on was a blessing or a curse. Now that I use it for work, it seems to be a blessing, and I've got to meet a lot of cool people, and we have this large community of like-minded individuals. But there is sometimes, some days, some videos that I come across that just baffle me. And after so many years of digging the internet and seeing the craziest content ever, you would be surprised. And it is just at that moment that you think you have seen it all where you discover ex-Muslims. Ex-Muslim content is some of the most confusing things I've ever seen in the world. And I'm going to cut to the chase on this one and then break it down after, but there is no such thing as an ex-Muslim. After watching these videos, I am fully convinced that ex-Muslims don't exist. These individuals may have been raised in an Islamic household, their parents may be Muslims, maybe they have a cousin that's a Muslim. But I can guarantee not a single one of these individuals have opened the Quran and saw words on that page. Now, I've seen these individuals in the comment section. They act like a cockroach in a toilet bowl. They pop out of nowhere and they're disgusting, but they're not really scary. This brings me to a point that I actually learned recently. Disgust and fear are two different things, and ex-Muslims have solidified that piece of information for me. When I first reverted to Islam, I knew nothing about the community, or very little. You know, there had been a couple videos that I made on TikTok that had popped off and touched some Muslim viewers, but I didn't really know too much about the community as a whole. And of course, just like every community, there is rats in the pit. And when you go through the ex-Muslim content on YouTube, it is just brain melting. I felt my brain cells pulling the trigger on themselves multiple times. Every single one of them had a very specific mannerism. Their tonality, the tonality in their voice, the movement of their face, all these little subconscious actions were very identical. First, you kind of want to chalk it up to some sort of mental illness, or maybe they had a similar trauma within their childhood. But when you look deeper at it, and the articulation of their voice and the specific word choice they use, it seems a little bit more than just a physical or mental illness, because these people are from different places, they have different experiences and different upbringings. Why is the tonality in their voice identical? Why is the movements in their face exactly the same as one another, especially when they're from completely opposite places on the planet? How is their English articulated the exact same way? These questions are what's stumping me right now. And this really seems to be the work of the shaitan. I really pray that Allah forgives them for the blasphemy they're spouting on the internet, but this does scream attachment. Now, I'm not talking about the individuals that went from Islam to Christianity either. Those people, I don't think they're very far lost. I don't think they're very far gone. They went to the cousin of Islam. They went to the one with the DLCs and updates that may have been corrupted, but at least they're somewhere close. They're somewhere nearby. I'm talking about the individuals that went from Islam to no faith at all. They went nowhere. And that's mind-blowing, because how can you go from religious to atheist? And I understand I did something similar, but at the end of the day, I always knew something more existed. It wasn't that I just didn't believe in anything ever. Most people who get out of religion go the spiritual path. When I was in anger management, when I was like 19 years old, got my first assault charge as an adult, there was this teacher, Mary. She was an older woman, very sweet but very stern. She went across the class of these angry dudes that all had assault charges and asked us all whether we were spiritual or religious. And every single one of us, we answered whether we were spiritual or religious. And at the end of it, she told us, she said, religion is for people who are scared to go to hell. Spirituality is for people who have been through it. And that's something that stuck with me pretty hard. But there was never a third option. There was never I don't believe in anything at all. And seeing these ex-Muslims videos, it seems that they have a very similar energy to a group of individuals in America. I can't name them, but we'll just call them the confused group. And the confused group and these ex-Muslims have this theatrical emotion with them where everything about them seems to be exaggerated. And they go around just attacking everybody else over and over again, and they never really support their own points. And this is a major red flag for me, especially being on the internet for a while. I've had to be careful. I've had a lot of people that I've collabed with in the early TikTok days, and then the second their views dropped, they made videos talking crap about me. So I've been able to identify certain groups of individuals that are very narcissistic or hold narcissistic qualities. Hold on real quick, I gotta do some dawa to the squirrel. The squirrel didn't let me get close. I think he's the shaitan. But anyway, these individuals seem to live in their own reality. They make their own rules, and anything that they disagree with, they just act like it isn't a thing. thing. They don't want to hear anybody else's perspective or anybody else's information. And as Muslims, I urge us all to pick up the Bible and read through it. Maybe you don't have to become a Christian or study everything, but it's helpful to understand somebody else's perspective. Now, I don't recommend jumping into the Lesser Key of Solomon and some of the really deep and dark occult books, but maybe studying the other religions of the world can help us understand other people. But there's something I want everybody to be very careful of, especially online and watching videos. The individuals that don't make content where it's just them sharing their own beliefs and their experiences, we need to be careful of them. If somebody only makes videos talking negatively about somebody else, that is dangerous. Nobody listens to their videos unless somebody else's name is coming out of their mouth. Right now, the shaitan are everywhere. I have never at any point in time seen this amount of people with demonic attachments ever. It is crazy to see the amount of people in America who have a shaitan directly attached to them. So the important question is, what can we do about these individuals? What can we do to try to prevent chaos from happening or prevent them from tearing down the rest of society and other communities and leading people towards Iblis or the devil? Well, remember how I said earlier in the video where there's a difference between fear and disgust? This is one trick to identify these individuals. See, individuals of this energy, of this class, they work based off of fear. They're scared of everything. And the way you can tell that somebody's fearful is they're going to have exaggerated emotions. They become very primitive. They're going to scream and yell and not let you get your point across because they're scared of you. They want to try to intimidate you back. Where the issue is that's never going to work. If you're doing street dawa, doing something similar along these lines, you're going to be operating more out of disgust or compassion, really is what it's going to be, but it's more disgust. We don't fear the devil. We don't fear the opposite side, but it's similar to like a rotten cheeseburger on the side of the road. We're not scared of it, but we're still going to avoid it. And if you're doing street dawa and you're getting in conflict with individuals that are on the other side, you're not going to be avoiding it. You're going to be confronting the disgust head on. And watching people like the Warner and Uthman and seeing how they interact with individuals of this type, it is compassion that beats them. Being compassionate towards these individuals that are sick and twisted may be able to pull them out of it. But if compassion doesn't work, I will go find that squirrel and his buddies, convince a bunch of squirrels to revert, and we will use them as personal bodyguards.